All right, this is session 2 on Thou Shalt Not Steal. You wouldn't think there'd be that much to Thou Shalt Not Steal, but there is. And yeah, if you deal falsely with people, or if you even if you just charge exorbitant prices, you get a bad name. People say, oh, you want to avoid that guy. He'll rake you over the coals. So yeah, do unto your neighbor as you would have them do unto you. And Proverbs 1:14 says this. This is speaking of a bunch of people that thieving types. He says, "Cast in thy lot amongst us. Let us all have one purse, my son. Walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain your foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of the bird, and they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk secretly for their own lives." Now this is casting in lots with a bunch of thieves, but you have a lot of this going on, and there's other statutes. In fact, we covered the Corbin one, which is kind of like this as well. But you have a lot of government and church pushed schemes where you cast in your lot with a bunch of other people, right? And insurance is one of them. There's another one, another scheme, which is one of these casting in your lot with a bunch of other people. And it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that way because take the insurance scam. We've kind of touched on Social Security already, where they don't give you back. For most people, they're getting stolen from in Social Security. Some people are stealing out of it, and it's all because of this casting in and having one person instead of individual responsibility. Yeah, you should provide for yourself. The government ought not steal it from you in the first place. And the government ought not force you into this insurance scams as well. If you're a safe driver and you don't drunk drive and you don't do that, and if you ding someone up, you pay your bill. Well, it's a lot cheaper for you to do your own thing. Take care of yourself. But what most people want is protection from their own aberrant behavior. Aberrant behavior. So when they go down and get drunk driving and they crash their car, they want to spread that penalty out over all their neighbors that belong to the same insurance scam instead of them paying. And it makes everybody suffer because everybody pays more. It's just spread out over everybody so that people don't. So people go, oh well. But the bad thing is that doesn't put the responsibility and the pain back where it should go, back on the guy that was drunk driving. He should have to pay the full amount. Yeah, and same thing when you run into somebody. If you're driving too fast and you drive into the back of somebody, it's your fault. You pay. Why do you want to spread that out over all your neighbors? Well, most of us are trying to get out of responsibility, and that's a bad thing because it doesn't change people's behavior. Where if you're held responsible for your actions and the penalty and the price of them, and you have to make recompense for any damages you ever do, it causes you to change your behavior. You say, well, I'm not going to drive so fast. I'm not going to run into the back of people, or I'm not going to drink and drive, and or on and on it goes. There's a ton of these kind of different scams and schemes. And of course, the corporations wax fat and prosperous on it. In addition to paying for the other guy's thing, you're paying for, a whole host of people that are making their living off of it. There's chairmen of the boards up there and CEOs that are making multi-millions of dollars spreading this across everybody, all because people don't want to pay. They don't want to pay their fair share. They want to avoid responsibility if they do something. Yeah, and they come up, with a lot of scenarios that sound good why you should do these kind of things. But if you read these laws, it's supposed to be individual responsibility. You're supposed to pay. If your house burns down, well, you gotta rebuild it, and makes you a lot more careful about your house, doesn't it? Well, Matthew 21:13 says this. He said unto them, "It's written, My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." And now we're going to get right down to the nitty gritty here. The preachers are big parts of this too. Yeah, along with the government and the big corporations, the preachers. So it's kind of funny. All the people are supposed to be telling you the truth all along. The teachers who are lying to you about you come from monkeys, and the preachers who are lying to you about these laws, and the politicians are lying to you all the time. It's interesting. Anyone you're paying out there, they're probably lying to you. And but this den of thieves is interesting because I went to the Church of Christ boys, and they used to about every 3 months have this preach here, this Malachi 3:8. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. This is the one law that they thought you should still keep, tithing. The other laws you can do away with. The other laws, those ones are done away with, nailed to the cross with Jesus. But somehow tithing was still in, and they twisted the law. You don't rob God, you rob them. They thought they were God. They took the place of God here. And will a man rob God? Yet you rob me. But you say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Bring you all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, and prove me now herewith. So it's very interesting. They had this, man, they beat this into you all the time. They were always making, you're not giving your 10% to the corporation to pay our salaries, then you're robbing God. Wait a minute. Who made you guys the spokesman for God that you've taken away his laws? You're actually fighting on the opposite team. You guys are on the other team. You're not even on his team. And you'll find out. That's what the Heavenly Father says. That's what the Son of God says too. How do you inherit eternal life? Keep the commandments. What do they tell you? The commandments are done away with, nailed to the cross with Jesus. And so, but this is interesting because did you see I underlined a spot here, and I got to thinking about this too. And I went to another church too, the Church of God Boys, who are closer. They keep more of these laws, Sabbath and holy days. But I read this and said, now bring the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house. Now it doesn't say bring the dollars into the bank account of the corporate church, 501c3, so that you can get a write-off, and then so that he can make a living off of you and not work 6 days like he's supposed to. And they left this part off about having food in mine house. I went down there and asked him. I said, hey, I'd like to bring in my tithe in 5-gallon buckets, long-term storage, wheat, corn, beans, honey, and oil. Can you guys have a storehouse? And they looked at me like I was, some fringe. They said, no. And I said, so if I bring them down, you don't have anywhere to put it? No. I said, you don't have any way to feed people when they go hungry? No. Well, that's what this is for. This tithe is to feed people. Yeah, widows, orphans, the indigent, the priest can eat off of it. The Levites are supposed to be able to eat off of it, but that's it. And you're supposed to have big storehouses full of food so people don't go hungry when the big problems come, or they're out of a job or whatever. Yeah, they're lying to you, telling you to bring it in and stick it into their bank account. And what's going to happen when we have the big collapse and the dollar collapses here shortly and all that from the dishonest weights we covered up earlier? Yeah, their dishonest weights are going to evaporate too. They're not going to be any help to any people. You're not going to be able to go down to their storehouse and get any food. When the shelves are empty, the church will be empty too, because those derelicts, those violators of these laws, what are they doing? They're sitting down there in a bunch of dollars too, so that they can pay and have big salaries. I remember these guys making $500,000 a year, and the family life minister making 60 or 70 grand a year, and they had 16 people on paid staff, and they were still talking about going into debt. Amazing. Yeah, now Micah 3:11, they'll never read you this one either. Yeah, the heads thereof judge for reward, the priests thereof, that's your preachers, teach for hire. Teach for hire. That's exactly what the church did. They hired this preacher out of Texas. They hire him all over the place. He's a good cemetery-trained preacher. Yeah, he's not following any of these laws. He's not teaching any of them. He's teaching for hire right here. And the prophets thereof, going on, thereof divine for money. Yeah, they divine for money. They go on, no evil can come upon us and blah, blah, blah. They'll tell you that too. No evil's going to come upon you. You ought not be paying and hiring your preacher. He's divining for money. He's telling you, let me tell you what this really means. It doesn't mean what it says. What it means is this over here. No, what it means, it says, bring in the tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. And he leaves, a.k.a. for the widow, for the orphan, for the indigent, for the guy that, needs help. Not to pay your preacher a big fat salary. Not to send it up to the second and third and fourth level where, the bishops, they get to wax fat and prosperous and build bigger and bigger buildings and bigger churches. And all the way over there to the higher steps, the Pope and whoever, these other guys too. Yeah, we can't read? We can't read? We can't open our eyes and read and say, well, we're supposed to bring in 1/10 of our food into this storehouse so that if we have trouble, people can eat. Yeah, so you're not stealing. They're going to try to convince you you're stealing from them as if they're entitled to 1/10 of your pay. They're not entitled to bupkis, squat. Tell them, get to work 6 days over there. And if you can't make enough, you can eat off of the tithe and bring it into food. They're not going to know how to steal that. What are they going to do? Sell it out the back? Yeah, they'll have a hard time stealing your tithe that way. That's the problem. You bring it in the long-term storage buckets, yeah, and hand it to them and say, here. What are they going to do? Are they going to go, how am I going to steal that? How am I going to steal that? Let's see. Sell it out the back? Well, they'll see me selling. They'll probably get, they'll get a little frustrated. I'm selling what they gave me for free. Huh. Yeah, you put that guy in a dilemma. Start obeying these laws. Well, that's thou shalt not steal. Next time we'll pick it up in the ninth of 10 Commandments.